Everyone. My name is Mati Amin, and I'm the founder and CEO of LIT, an online pathway to language proficiency through digital stories. It's all too frequent to hear people say, I've studied Spanish for 4 years in high school and I cannot speak a word. Over the past several months, my team and I work with more than 165 language teachers to understand this problem better. Research shows, and these teachers have confirmed, that true language acquisition cannot happen without exposure to input that's both communicative and comprehensible, right? So now you might ask what comprehensible input is. Comprehensible input is a message comprised of whole, complete language with context that a listener understands. Now, teachers are struggling to create or find comprehensible input to use in their classrooms. To create and deliver comprehensible input to a classroom requires multiple platforms, and that's exactly where we come in. LIT facilitates language acquisition by providing an entire platform of compelling and controlled input in the form of digital stories and post-work activities that utilizes high-frequency vocabulary and models common language functions. So in other words, we have combined the content teachers are looking for with a single-stop platform for delivery, grading, and progress tracking. Well, there are a lot of language learning platforms, and those popular tend to get small chunks of language, put too much emphasis on low frequency vocabulary, and impart what's at best a piecemeal knowledge of language. LIT's digital library, on the other hand, offers a wide range of topics, practices, and regions, and our digital library can be filtered for different levels, genre, target structure, tenses, performance indicators, and more. And our post-work activities are highly customizable, and their progression, as you can see on the screen, covers all the 4 modalities, and from listening comprehension to reading to presentation writing and speaking. We have received a ton of positive feedback from teachers since our beta launch in July. They say that we are a true all-in-one solution, that they love our videos, that they love our very well-organized coursework activities. And as I said, we launched in July, and since then we have welcomed more than 5,000 teachers and students onto our platform who have completed more than 112,000 activities so far. So that's exciting. So also exciting is the fact that we are working in a digital language learning market, which is at $5.7 billion now, projected to grow to $8.3 billion by the year 2025. And my team and I aim to have 500,000 users learning different languages on our platform by 2025. And we have a very strong team with 14 plus years of experience in the education sector to push us through the initial milestones. I'm Mati, founder and CEO of LIT, the future of language learning. Thank you.
All right, thank you. We can hear from the audience member about their feedback.
Just a note that this is a feedback session, so if you're asking any questions, the presenter would not be able to answer your question now, but please feel free to share your feedback.
Mati, just a couple of comments from my perspective. One, great presentation, and certainly an area that I have a passion for too. So exciting to see what you're doing. One thing that didn't come across to me in a short presentation, and I've been coached on for especially talking to investor conversations, was what makes you and the team the best people to do what you're doing. And it's hard in 3 minutes to get everything in, but just a piece of feedback of finding a way to sell why you're the best people to make this happen. It might be a good thing to add in.
Great, thanks for the feedback. Anyone else has feedback for Mati?
Yeah, Mati, this is Brent again. I would reiterate, nice job. 3 minutes is challenging. Because we're all pitching virtual these days, a couple things I would encourage you to do in practice. One is changing the slides more often and having fewer details on the slides. engages the audience better, because it's hard. We're all staring at this little screen trying to understand, and we're not listening to you as much then. The second part of it is there, as you think about any of your pitches, whether you're doing it for a minute, 3 minutes, or 20 minutes, there's building blocks. And it'd be helpful if each one was a building block. To your point, Mario, that you talked about the team. You could have a quick thing on the team, a quick thing on the opportunity. You talked about it, but reinforce it with the image would be helpful. And as Mario said, I guess I don't know if it's Mario or Warren who mentioned Warren, thanks, was the idea of, based on your audience, you may have to switch some slides, but there are some fundamentals around that should be across the board. And it feels like it was missing just a little bit in that. I think it was in your words, but I think the images to reinforce it would be really helpful for an audience.
Thanks, Brent, for your feedback. I think we
have 3 more minutes for feedback. If anyone would like to jump in.
Hi, this is Gil Sizwerda. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, so just a point of confusion for me, and by the way, I'll say nice presentation. I thought it was well done. But a point of confusion is how you generate the content, which seems to be the key thing that you're actually bringing to the marketplace. So a little more clarity on that would be useful.
So just because we have time and just as people come in, just to, I think, I want to reinforce that point Gil was making. Is what is the unique insight you have of what's going on in the market? That is differentiating would be really helpful as an investor looking at it, trying to understand there are a lot of people going after this space, that you must have some unique perspective on it, which is different than differentiation, but just what's your insight that you have.
thank you, Brent.
This is Philip here, Mate. Nice presentation. One other point I would make is, how you doing? Is I think you put some numbers on the page regarding market size and opportunity. I don't think I saw any footnotes of where the sources are, where you're getting those numbers. So make sure if you have any numbers on a slide, you have a reputable source that's backing that up.
Thank you, Phil, for your feedback. Just FYI, especially for Tenny, I don't know what happened to my internet connection this morning, but it's very spotty and I feel like I'm in and out. So I apologize, but if anything happened, I cannot stay on. Tenny, please keep the time for me.
Of course.
Thank you. So also in the chat, I saw Tenny posted a link to the feedback form. If you have some feedback you would like to share but didn't have time to do so during the session, please feel free to go to that link and fill out your feedback, and we'll share it with the presenters. Okay, our next presenter is Masamichi Kenimaru, and she is pitching highlight strengths. Masamichi, can you get ready to present?
Wait a moment.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. You can see your slide.
see the slide?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, we are the team highlight strength. Our product is pre-hire assessment test. So we help human resource department to hire competent entrepreneurial employees. Entrepreneurial employees, in other words, entrepreneur is a in-house entrepreneur. So what do? We provide a pre-hire assessment test for HRs seeking innovative people who can make an impact in a large organization. Look at the chart below. This is a hiring process for most companies. After application from the candidates, company conducts 3 steps to evaluate candidates: assessment test, reviewing resume, and interviews. Our product is for the step 1 assessment test. So this test can evaluate to what extent the candidate can innovate in a large organization. And HR can hire entrepreneurial employees to achieve innovation. It is very important for the companies to hire entrepreneurial person to make innovation inside the company. But it's also difficult for HR managers to hire and to find and to evaluate those skills from the large applicant pool. So what do we solve? 2 skills are required for entrepreneurs. First, critical thinking. That is a skill to identify the core issues of complex problems. Another skill is leadership. That is a skill to connect the company resources across the departments without a formal managerial role. But why is it difficult to evaluate those skills? Because it is difficult to quantitatively prove those skills for the candidates, and interviewers are required special training to evaluate those skills. How we solve these problems, in other words, how we evaluate these skills. As for the critical thinking, we made a descriptive test, and it requires candidates to think from scratch. Any other existing test is a multiple choice test. Multiple choice test is a test to evaluate the skill to choose from the choices, not a skill to think from scratch. That is a big differences between existing solutions. As for the leadership, we created a psychological test based on the thesis for innovative organizations. That is based on the Professor Cross theory. We developed the fundamental materials and acquired the first customer and financed from the Babson and MIT. So our next step is to make a prototype and applying the patent and conduct a trial with the first customer. Thank you.
Thank you, Masamichi. If you could stop share the screen, please, and then we can listen to any feedback we have from the audience. Any feedback for Masamichi?
Yeah, hi, this is Mario. Just, seems very interesting. As I was looking at your slides and listening to the presentation, I was wondering, how many institutions or companies are looking for this? If you had some idea on the market size, or have you done some research on companies that currently help companies hire, bright people, and kind of what areas of skills are they looking for, and how much of that is it in terms of entrepreneurship skills?
Thank you, Mario. Anyone else want to share the feedback for Masamichi?
I can go for it. So Masamichi, at first, I actually got confused about your slide, but you did a great job. At the end, I realized the problem you try to solve is to find out some criteria for human resource. So I think it's a minor suggestion. You can put the problem you try to solve at the first, then we can get into the problem you try to solve very quickly. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard, for your feedback. Anyone else would like to share the feedback? We have a little bit of time. And just a reminder to other presenters, if you have your presentation slides ready to go, that will be great. So when I call your name, we don't lose any time. You can start presenting right away.
So my only other comment there was, again, sounds like a really compelling solution and exciting early traction. One thing that didn't jump out at me at the start, it kind of came across through the course of the presentation, was, what tangibly is the problem that you're solving, and how big is that problem? How painful is that problem for whom? And so it's there, and I think you understand it, and that came across over the course of the presentation. But if someone who's not familiar with the industry or not familiar with what you're doing, if you can, in 20 seconds or less, really articulate very clearly for big companies that are hiring this type of employee, finding out entrepreneurship skills is really hard to do. Something like that, I think, would just really solidify the story.
Thank you, Warren. Anyone else would like to share the feedback with Masamichi?
Yeah, Masamichi, looking at the assessment space, it is a highly fragmented market, as well as there are people that believe heavily in assessments and those that don't. So one is, I think, thinking about who your target is and who you're really trying to speak to, because convincing somebody who doesn't necessarily, you don't have to convince somebody to A, you should use assessments, and B, my assessment. So that's one. Two is, there are a number of people in town and that are in the assessment world. One of the big ones right now that's backed by, I think, General Catalyst is Predictive Index. And so I would encourage you really to think about what is going to make you different versus all these other ones, because they are, the other assessment companies are backed by lots of money, lots of resources. So the question is, I do think there's a space for very focused assessments to solve very particular problems. And it wasn't clear if that, how you can focus to make a difference. So really think about, and I would encourage you to go talk to other assessment companies out there. They're all willing to share. And if you'd like introductions, I'm happy to help you offline.
Thank you, Brent, for your feedback. We have about a minute left. Does anyone want to share their feedback?
Hi, I'll go. Hi, Masamichi. 3 minutes is challenging again, yeah. Building on top of what Mario said, I guess, what I was looking for was probably what companies operating in which industry are really looking for this sort of solution. Probably an industry breakdown would be helpful. Trying to understand that there's a specific industry out there, there's a specific pool of customers that you're trying to reach, so that the audience has an idea of what you're targeting exactly.
Thank you, Mo. Anyone else would like to share their feedback? The next presentation will start in about 1 minute. So as you can see in the chat box, if you would like to share your feedback but didn't get a chance to do so during the session, there is a link to a feedback form. Please feel free to use that, and we will share it with the presenters.
Can you guys see my screen or no?
It's dark.
No, yeah, it's dark, but.
Yes. So let's see. Tanya, did I miss the prompt? Did the prompt come up?
I did not see that.
Yeah, so Ivan, just give us a minute. Okay, so next, our presenter is Ivan Sini, and he is pitching Spoten. Ivan, please.
Okay, first, can you guys see the 2020 on my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Well, hello everyone. My name is Ivan, and I'm here today to talk about a box. Not a simple box, but maybe the best and the most impactful box our community has ever seen. But before I do so, let me ask you a question. How has 2020 been with you? Don't you guys feel we've been trapped inside our own little boxes? The 2020 pandemic has affected everyone in the world, including many who have their own businesses. And that's no different for our community. However, here in Babson, we're fought in the #1 entrepreneurial community in the world to take action and to do something about it. And at Spotted, we as hustlers did something about it. Applying the entrepreneurial thought and action mantra that we have in our school, we brainstorm and act on this painful moment for many businesses in our community to develop a creative way to make our community stronger, the Spotted Box. You might be wondering now, what is the box? And like, why am I pitching this to you today? Well, the answer is simple. Spotted Box is a tailor-made box made of products and services from businesses of our community with the purpose of helping them to strive and making our community stronger. And most importantly, it's a win-win situation for everybody involved with it. For the buyer of the box, you not only get this to support more than 20 businesses, but also you get more than $200 worth of for all the other members of the community, alumni, upcoming students, current students, it's the best way that you can engage and be Babson proud. Finally, for the next generation of entrepreneurs, we make sure that Spotted Box keep their dreams alive. And for every box that we've been already selling, we are allocating $10 to donate back and support a student need in next year. Well, my ask for you today is simple. I want you to take your phone now and scan this code, which is gonna go directly to our Rocket Pitch webpage. And for the purpose of today, we are gonna be happily offering a special discount. So for the $200 that is worth of products in this box, we created a light version for the Rocket Pitch that is attainable for everyone to buy, so that if you still didn't get yours, now is the perfect time to do. But don't waste your time. This is only valid for today and the next 4 hours. And if you are a Babson entrepreneur that is not yet part of the Babson box, please reach out to me or to anybody in the team, and we'll make sure that you are part of this initiative in the future. Finally, as the slogan of our school says, those who dream, we call them a dreamer. Those who do, we call them an entrepreneur. And those who buy a Spotted Box, we call them a Babson hero. Thank you for your vote of confidence today, for your time and for your attention. Be a Babson hero.
Thank you, Evan. Evan, could you stop sharing your screen now? And I will open it up to the audience. If anybody wants to share their feedback with Evan, please unmute yourself.
Hi, this is Robert Toma.
Hey, Robert, go ahead.
Ivan, I thought that was wonderful. I loved the call to action to scan the QR code and take action immediately. The ability to support Babson Ventures was very well done. Congratulations.
Thank you, Robert. Anyone else would like to share their feedback?
Hi, this is Mario. Yeah, I really liked the presentation. I liked all the pictures and, like the spirit and kind of the purpose of, trying to help the community, helping Babson students and, showcasing all the great partners that you have. The one thing in the pitch, I felt like if I put on my customer hat that, I felt like you were talking to me and trying to get me interested in your product and buying it. But if I put on my investor hat, I had a few more questions about the company itself, the team that you're working with, and maybe some idea of how many of these boxes you're intending to sell. Are you planning on sticking with just Babson, or are you planning on, for example, expanding to other educational institutions? So just from that perspective, I'd like to understand a bit more.
Thank you, Mario, for your feedback. Just another reminder to presenters, have your presentation slides ready. And so when I call your name, you can share your screen right away. And if anyone would like to share the feedback to Ivan.
I have, Ivan, I thought your presentation was terrific, full of energy, supporting good cause. But to echo Mario, I think pitching to perhaps potential investors, I think they would benefit from seeing your vision for the product itself, how you could grow that product, right? So, do you envision taking it out of the Babson community and expanding it further? I think you could quickly touch on that, and it would be very helpful.
Ivan, great presentation. I really like the idea, and especially the fact that you're putting some money back into Babson for future entrepreneurs. So I think that's really good. It gives everyone a really good way to showcase what they're working on, the products. And yeah, just to echo the first point, I think it's amazing to have that call to action and getting people to quickly pick up the box at this time. So great job.
Thank you, Deepak, and also thank you, Matty, before that. Anyone else would like to share their feedback with Ivan? And again, if you didn't get a chance to share your feedback during the session, in the chat box, there's a link to a form where you can share your feedback there, and we'll share it back with the presenters. We still have a few minutes left for feedback. If anyone would like to share their feedback, please just unmute yourself.
I want to give some feedback. I think I got lost. I still wondering if I am a consumer, what can I get from the box? So could we choose something we like or we prefer? That's the big mystery in my mind right now. Yeah.
Thank you, Richard. We still have a minute or so left. Anyone would like to share their feedback? You can also find in the chat box a link to a list of presenters for today. So if you want to see who will be presenting next or later today, feel free to click on that link and take a look at the other presenters. And Marisa is our next presenter. It's not time for you to present yet, but if you can have your file slides ready, I'll just call your name when the time is up.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. So Marisa, maybe you can line your slide up, and when we see the prompt, you can just go ahead and start.
Great.
Our next presenter is Marisa Spano, and she is pitching Tech Insight. Marisa?
Thank you. 1 second. Sharing. Okay. Great. Is everyone on the presentation?
Yes, we can see it. Thank you.
Okay, awesome. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. I'm Marissa Spano, serial entrepreneur and founder of Tech Inside. We're building a new and safer world with your help, hopefully. Our team is comprised of a Babson graduate, a retired special agent from the FBI who's on this call, Jane Mason, and a few college sponsors and advocates who we have on campus, as well as a CTO and a CIO who you'll meet later on in the presentation. Most personal safety tech companies don't think about the overall audience that they're serving. And currently, a dangerous gap exists in personal safety. You'll find that most devices are expensive, or they don't really appeal or are effective when you are in an assault or in an emergency situation. What you see here is a woman who's expressing what's called as the flinch response. As an assault survivor, I can tell you, even though I'm licensed and certified in martial arts and almost a black belt, I still had my own issues when I was assaulted. The flinch method and what we do with our hands is real when we're assaulted. And so our product addresses two use cases, but today we're just talking about assault. Basically, in 2018, although reports and statistics are pretty off, it's reported through RAIN that 735,000 people were sexually assaulted. And that's only 25% of the assaults that were reported to law enforcement. And many of the reasons that safety tech is inaccessible and ineffective leads to why we found the huge gap that exists. It's not widely accessible. It is too expensive. It's not really readily available. Usually you do have to use your cell phone or hold something like pepper spray or a taser or a kitty cat keychain. And usually you don't have any evidence collected. We have a software solution that broadcasts live footage of the event as it's happening, which offers hands-free SOS, which is voice activated, or through a future device, a wearable, you'll be able to press a button to signify that you're in an SOS emergency and that help needs to be on its way or to come to your rescue. Our evidence will be collected and secured at CJIS standards, and we can connect with existing devices. Currently, we're developing a software dashboard that would basically be for public safety organizations, law enforcement, college campuses, whether it's Title IX regulations, the Clearacy Act, or other OSHA compliance issues. We do see that data and statistics are needed on the side of public safety. Our audience right now is college students for launch, which means that we'll be marketing to parents, volunteers on campus. It gives us about 20 million college students and over 500 campus safety offices. We've been in contact with about 50 so far. We have a few partners who we're currently working with. And our model for revenue would be $60 for the app per year. The app provides an evidence report that is emailed and broadcast live to a safety circle, as well as to your SOS partner. And then we have an API that's available for corporations. In the future, we're looking to develop a hardware solution, which is a smart ring. You'll be able to contact SOS with just the use of one thumb to the ring, as well as the voice activation for our app. Our team is comprised of 7 pretty amazing individuals, and we have 2 advisors who are currently coming on board.
Marissa, I'm sorry, your time is up.
Okay.
We have to stop your pitch. Sorry about
Sure.
that. Please stop.
Oh, it's fine.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I will open up the floor to the audience for any feedback. If you would like to share your feedback with Marissa, please unmute yourself.
Yeah, they brutal. I share no feedback. I was in once.
And if you're not speaking, please make sure you are on mute. Would anyone like to share the feedback with Marissa?
Hey, Marissa, this is Warren. It sure sounds like a
Hi, Marissa.
Oh.
I'm really enjoy your pitch. I think that your product is very, very good. It should be popular for females protection. And thanks for that product. like, I think it's just because the time is too short, but all your information is really, really good. But maybe just be briefly put those numbers just in small, don't have to have the picture, just small numbers. That's it. But it's good that we see the picture of your the ring. That's very, because I was like confused. What exactly the picture? What exactly the product? So maybe you could put that in the first or second slide. Let people know what is that exactly from the beginning. That would be great. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your feedback. I'm sorry, I think Warren got interrupted. Warren, would you like to share your feedback?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, Marissa, great job, and thank you for sharing and working on this problem. There's an important one, right? My couple thoughts was it took me until very close to the end of the presentation to really understand what it is that Tech Inside does. And you spent a lot of time, upfront defining the problem, and it's a real problem and a powerful one. But I think you can get tighter in terms of, selling it and explaining it in 20 to 30 seconds. You have all the information; it was all there, and we got there. But I worry in short pitch situations, you'll lose your audience if you can't condense it down even more. And then my only other thought was just, you talked about the ring, the kind of the future, and I think you have a first generation app or something like it, but wasn't clear on that. And so I almost felt like I wanted a half and half slide that said, here's the today, here's the future, when you were talking about the solution.
Thank you, Warren. Anyone else would like to share their feedback with Marissa? Please unmute yourself and go ahead.
Yeah, Marissa, I did also struggle with, you probably felt that it's like the big challenge of putting all this information into 3 minutes, but you'll run into the same problem when you're at 50 minutes or an hour. So I would, for anybody that's pitching or presenting, the most important thing is to stay within the time and not feel like you got to flip through the last slides real quick, because that distracts everybody and takes away from your core message. Also, the idea of, clearly this is a problem that I don't think anybody will shake their head at and say, no, I don't get the problem. But people aren't going to invest because of the problem. They're going to invest because of your solution and your ability to execute against it, because there are a lot of other things out there, and we can, so I would encourage you just to tell the story that way. So tell the story, not focusing on the problem, but focusing on why this solution really is the one that's going to win, because there are a lot out there and we're still having this problem.
Thank you, Brent. As I mentioned before, there is a link in the chat box. If you didn't get a chance to share your feedback during the session, please go to the link and fill out your feedback that way, and we will share it back to the presenters. But right now, we still have a couple of minutes for feedback sharing. If anyone would like to share their feedback, please unmute yourself.
Just since we have the time, is the ring, how, it was interesting to, I guess, whoever mentioned it before, the idea of they got caught into the ring. You're going to have to be really careful about that, because people are going to be like, I want the ring, versus what you're trying to do today. Is the ring really anywhere near, that's an interesting piece, because it can be done. You can just put it on and go. I'd be just curious where that is versus, hey, we have a vision for a ring. That's, maybe you should go after the ring and go directly to that, not the app. I don't know.
Thanks again, Brent. Unfortunately, for the rocket pitch, we don't allow the presenters to answer questions, but that's certainly something I think Marissa would think about. So we can get ready for our next presenter. Our next presenter is Raul Oreste, and he is going to present franchiser. Raul, would you like to share your screen and be ready to start? I will give you the prompt when it's time.
Can everybody see the screen?
Yes, we can see the screen, but let's just give it a minute. I think we will have your prompt in just a minute, and then you can start. And did I pronounce your name correctly?
Yes, almost.
Almost.
Raúl Oreste. It's not easy.
Yes.
You gotta roll the R's a lot.
Yeah, I'm not good at that. Okay, Raul, please go ahead.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Raúl Oreste. I'm 36-year-old. I'm an engineer, an MBA candidate here at Babson College, concentrating in finance. I have 7 years experience combined in business, development, marketing, sales. And I'm one of the co-founders of Franchise. So when you think of franchising, usually comes to mind Dunkin' Donuts, McDonald's, Starbucks, Burger King, the big brands. But there's really much more to it. Franchising is a standardized system. It's a standardized system to manage a business that if you implement it correctly, if you implement it precisely, there's a great reduction of risk involved. But of course, there's always a problem, right? The cost to start a franchise are very high, almost always. So in listening to franchise experts and entrepreneurs, we learned that there was a gap here. Franchise employees, small business owners, the experienced managers in this business, in essence, the frontline workers of franchises are ideal candidates to have their own franchise business. However, these entrepreneurs don't always have a way to access to the capital for the startup costs. And this mismatch creates an opportunity. We want to provide unserved, skilled entrepreneurs the possibility of their own business in franchising. Just look beyond the credit score or their financial capabilities and provide them with a system that considers the important part to success in managing their own business. And that's what Franchiser is for. It's not just a funding platform, it's a business partner. So the app is very simple. It just gives the entrepreneur an integrated solution to all their challenges in starting a franchise. Our platform is a marketplace that will match franchisees with investors that can contribute as little as $100 to get started working in franchises. Additionally, the app will have expert advice and business resources to franchisees. We're starting to invite franchisees and franchises to our app that will roll out on December 2021. And we're also planning a seed funding round before the end of the year. We want to share what's driving us right now. This great opportunity to unleash the potential that accessible franchising has and provide the tools to an amazing large community that also has so much value to add. So please join us in reinventing franchising for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Raul. You have a perfect timing. If you would just stop sharing your screen, I can invite the audience to share their feedback. And if you're just joining us now, you can see in the chat box, there is a link to a feedback form. If you didn't get a chance to share your feedback, please go share it in the link. But right now we have a few minutes for the audience to share their feedback. If you would like to, please unmute yourself and share your feedback with Raul.
Hey, Raul, this is Brent. I have to tell you, I love this idea. I think it makes a lot of sense. And the piece that I'd be curious at is do you have any validating partners early that you can add in? I think that would help give credibility, because this idea of financing alternatives to franchisors and franchisees is very powerful. And I wonder, Warren, if your world would add on that. You probably have some perspective on that. So I'm going to call that a softball setting up for you, but I love it, Raul. And I think the idea of the question for you is a journey question of where are you in this journey, and what's the plan to get there, and what are your milestones would be something I'd want to see.
Thank you, Brent. Anyone else would like to share their feedback?
I'll pick up on that. This is Warren, and Raul, happy to connect offline. I've spent a bunch of time in the franchise finance world on the bank side, and so very interested to kind of dig in a little more and share whatever I can. A couple thoughts just from a presentation standpoint. One, I like that you started with a little bit of profile and team, but I actually felt like what you were saying in terms of who you are and age and degree wasn't really what I needed to hear in terms of why does this make you and your team the compelling folks to solve this problem. And so I think if you're going to take that 30 seconds to talk team, be really thoughtful about what are the things that you want to say and why they convince your audience that, wow, these guys really are the right ones to tackle this problem. And then I'd kind of echo Brent's comment from the last presentation too, is you spent a lot of time on problem definition, and not a lot of time on what makes your solution unique and powerful. So some of that is good, and that I'm interested and I want to ask questions, right? But I think you could have hit on what is it about franchisor that allows you to really help that prospective franchisee profile themselves and raise capital, or what is it that's unique about how you're bringing capital to the marketplace. And those are just things that you didn't have time to come up with because you spent a lot of time on team profile and problem. But I like Brent, love the idea and excited about it. So
thank you, Warren. Would anyone else like to share their feedback with Raul? We have a couple of minutes left.
Yeah, hi Raul. This is Philip. Great presentation, very interesting. Unlike the other two commenters, I'm not as familiar with this space, but I would say from an investor perspective, if you could kind of get very quickly to the heart of how big the opportunity is and how big of a pain point is this. Right, so a little bit of an education side from the investor perspective, but get to that point sooner to kind of get the investor on the hook that there is a big, right, that the opportunity matches the risk profile given how early you are in the investment process.
Thank you, Philip.
Hi, Raul. This is Donna Levin, and I agree with everything that's been said so far. I would add on how you're going to win. I was left wondering how you were going to monetize. If you were sort of taking a percentage on the transaction, on the raise, if it was a subscription model, and just based on the interest and the time, I think you can definitely get there sort of in just that 3 minutes of just even some early thinking.
Thank you, Donna. We have about a minute or so left. Would anyone else like to share their feedback? And again, if you're joining us right now, if you'd like to see which presenters are coming up next, there is a link in the chat box. You can click on that link and see the presenters' information. But we do have a couple of minutes left for feedback. If you would like to share your feedback with Raul, please unmute yourself.
Raul, one other piece that when Warren, you brought it up, and I'd be curious with Phil, with your comment from an investor, but the idea of why you guys are the team to solve this, because when you've got an interesting problem to be solved, and it can be the greatest idea, but the other question that investors ask is this the team to solve it? So everything else may be perfect. So you should really, I don't know what everybody's background exactly, and to Warren's point, didn't fully reinforce that it opened more questions than answers. So I would just encourage you to think about, as you think about, you may be the best team executionally, but from an optics standpoint, do you need to add something to your team to increase its credibility and viability as the team to solve the problem?
Okay, great. Thank you, Brent, again. It's time to prepare for our next presenter. Our next presenter is Vivian Newman, and she is pitching movement. Vivian, if you line up your slide, and I will let you know when we will be ready for you. Great, we can see your slide, and just give us a minute and I will let you know when your time begins, but let's just give it a minute. Vivian, please go ahead.
2020 has been the year for social change, and millennials and Gen Z are leading protests, organizing for action, drafting bills, and questioning the status quo. The most common and accessible ways to contribute to these movements are sharing resources, signing petitions, and donating to nonprofit organizations relevant to the cause. With the world continuously digitizing, social media has fueled social movements, causing small organizations to get lost in cyberspace, while viral organizations receive an unusable surplus of donations. Take the Minnesota Freedom Fund, for example. With the help of social media, the nonprofit went from having an annual budget below $200,000 to receiving $20 million in 4 days. The issue is a lot of information gets lost in social media, and crowdfunding sites are not ideal for charity fundraising. A donor is more likely to trust a recipient if social media is used to solicit activities. However, many nonprofit organizations have not made effective use of social media for fundraising due to limitations on resources, causing organizations with similar missions to go unheard. As a volunteer at many community-based organizations, I've seen firsthand the struggle small organizations have with fundraising. I'm also usually one of the youngest volunteers at these organizations, and oftentimes they ask me for help on how to use social media, but it can be really overwhelming to run a social media campaign with one person. After seeing creative social media fundraisers on my peers' Instagram stories that range from Venmo Bingo to Tag a Friend challenges, I saw the opportunity that integrating social media and fundraisers catered to a specific age group had on the parties involved. So I came up with Movement to ease the process for changemakers by creating a platform that is a hub for resources, educates users, and connects changemakers with each other. Our goal is to address the issues of information overload and crowdfunding by developing a browser extension that preserves the perks of crowdfunding while expanding to a customized user experience. We plan to revamp the fundraising process by personalizing the feeds of users to emphasize the charity characteristics, missions, and relationships that are important to them. Moreover, we seek to reform the recommendation algorithm based on such criteria and implement helpful social networking features so that both campaigns and donors can effortlessly find one another and be in constant communication. Our concept allows charities to pay more attention to their primary philanthropic mission by spending less resources on discovering donors and to garner donor participation through an amplified social media presence that is more appealing to contributors. Donors will be able to provide micro donations to organizations and campaigns that conform to their beliefs, as well as tackle social issues and the barriers to important causes via the power of fair change. As for my call to action, I am looking for team member, mentors, funding, and feedback. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Vivian. If you can stop sharing your screen now, I can open up the floor to the audience. If you would like to share your feedback with Vivian, please unmute yourself.
I think this is a really interesting idea. I'd love to, and I know it's a short amount of time to share your idea. I'd love to see more how it's distinguished from other crowdfunding platforms out there. I know there's some for political causes, and then there's, GoFundMe. So how can you continue to distinguish this from your competitors?
Thank you, Alexandra.
Vivian, just a comment on my end. Thanks for the presentation. Couple things I would say. One, I know 3 minutes is very quick, and I am probably one of the people who loves when people talk fast, but you blitzed through that very quickly. So I would suggest slowing it down just a little bit. And the other thing I think to help reinforce that message, in terms of slides, with animation, sometimes several of the slides you had a lot of words there, and inevitably people are going to read the slide and stop listening to you. right? And so you want the slide to kind of enhance the message you're saying. So if you do have a bunch of words that you're trying to convey that are key, trying to animate the slide so each of the messages comes up discreetly. So my eyes are reading what you want me to read while you're doing the voiceover versus giving me an entire slide of words, in which case I can't do both. So think about how you pace the slide structure and presentation with the message and voice overlay that you're trying to convey.
Thank you, Philip. Would anyone else like to share their feedback with Vivian?
Sure. Hi, Vivian. Donna, and echo what's been said. First of all, I think anyone who's supported any nonprofit, we understand exactly what you're talking about and their missed opportunity with social media. And so I would love for you to think about for this pitch, you have such a great opportunity for emotion, since most people make decisions based on emotion versus logic, on using that 5-second rule on your slides. You've gotten that feedback on de-risking and getting faster to how you're going to be the hero of this journey, and spending a little more time there, because we could get to understanding that problem really quickly and the power of social. And so we really want to get to how you're going to get in there and solve this problem. And I think you ran out of time to really go into the detail there.
Thank you, Donna. We have a few minutes left. Would anyone like to share the feedback with Vivian?
Yeah, hey Vivian, this is Warren. Just some additional thoughts. In the middle of the presentation, you highlighted your really strong background working for multiple nonprofits and seeing this problem directly and how it inspired you to kind of create movement. I almost feel like it got lost though, because it was surrounded by so much other information. And coming back to Brent's comment of earlier of half or more of what an early investor is looking at is team. I think you actually have a great story of why you're the right person to build this product, but it almost got lost in the presentation. I almost felt like I wanted to hear that up front, and it provides you that natural lead into, and here's the problem that we're solving.
Thank you, Warren. We still have a little bit of time left. Please unmute yourself if you would like to share your feedback with Vivian. And as I mentioned before, there's also a link in the chat box. If you would like to share feedback, you can do so that way as well, and we'll share it back with the presenters. So this, Vivian, is for you, but also I don't want it to get lost. And Donna, you said it in passing, this idea of the hero's journey. I think that's there's a bunch of frameworks on telling stories, and that is one. And some businesses fit to that better than others, but I would encourage everybody you can read about it in a minute and you can say, does that apply to your business? Vivian, it does, I think, to yours. So I don't want to lose that comment. And there's a whole podcast on the hero's journey, which is fascinating if you want to listen to it. The second piece is for everybody is emotion. People buy with their heart almost before they buy with their head. So all these businesses, and I would talk about Marissa's, we can talk about when you were talking about before, you passed over real quick saying, I was impacted by this, and this is why I created it. Create that emotional link. And Phil, you mentioned that. I just want to reinforce, everybody should try and tie within 15 seconds some emotional link to your problem. And that people want to support things with their heart, especially at the early stage. Thank you, Brent. I think we still have a minute left. If you would like to share your feedback with Vivian, please unmute yourself. And if you would like to check out who would be presenting later, there is a link in the chat box. You can click to see more about the presenters' information there. I see Marissa also shared some information in the chat box, a survey. a poll. Yeah, if you're interested in Marissa's pitch, you can do so there. Our feedback time is up now. Our next presenter is Richard Chen, and he is going to pitch Happy Farmers Owl.
Can you guys see my screen?
Yes, we can see your screen, but just give me a minute. I will let you know when you can start your pitch. Okay, Richard, please go ahead.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Richard Chen. I'm happy to introduce Happy Farmers Hour. It's a company focused on takes away pesticides, saves the environment, and improves yield rate for crops. And why I come up with this idea? Because I grew up in the farming community in Taiwan. And when I was young, I realized that farmers spray lots of pesticides in order to get a great yield rate. But this behavior actually kills all the species, not only the pests in the farmland. And it's just supposed to target specific pests. And that's interesting. I made some interview with experts in Cranberry Station in Massachusetts. And I realized cranberry farmers here suffers and experience the same problem. They cannot target specific pests and they need to spray pesticides in order to get a great yield rate. So Happy Farmers Hour, it's an IoT gadget that can help farmers to target specific pests and terminate them in real time. It also can provide some decision making for farmers. For example, with the help of the humidity, temperature, and location sensors, farmers are able to detect which area they need to focus more. Also, it not only it's an organic pesticide terminator, pest terminator. It can count how many population for specific pests in the farmland, so farmers can focus more on which area they need to focus on. And best thing is it's online database. So everywhere in the world, farmers can get real-time information to terminate or control these pests. So in my past 6 years, I focus in the IoT industry. So I try to apply this concept in the agriculture industry, and especially for the pest control. And right now I'm here to partner with entomologists in order to get more understanding about the pests and how to handle it. Also, we need chemicals to provide a great solution for farmers. I'm really happy and excited to do this since it's a totally organic solution for all farmers. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Richard, for your presentation. If you can stop sharing your screen now, I can open up the floor.
A couple things. One is, I think this is one when I hear something that what I consider fairly technical in nature, I think you really need to handhold people through the journey on this. And really, so my question would be I don't get it. I'm hearing words, I'm hearing, and again, I may not be the target investor on it, but the idea of, okay, pesticides, yes, there's a trend, I'm looking for the insight that's going to drive your business for me to invest behind. You know, clearly you're very capable in engineering and all that, but I'm trying to figure out what it is. I think there's something there, but I feel like I got to dig into it and tear it apart to put it together to figure out what it is. So I'm basically, the net of it is, treat me like I'm a kindergartner, one of my kids, and say, here's what it is and here's how it works. And, but confused minds don't buy.
Thank you, Brent. Anyone would like to share the feedback with Richard?
Yeah, I had a comment. One of the things that it seemed like you had a mechanism there for counting the bugs or what was going to be happening, and the scale of the problem, I didn't really understand the scale of the problem, and also the effectiveness of the proposed solution wasn't clear to me. Like, why was this thing going to solve the problem? So really, scale and effectiveness of what you're proposing was something I couldn't really grasp from the presentation. But it sounds like a good idea overall. I liked it.
Thank you, Jeff. We still have some time for feedback. If you do have some feedback you would like to share with Richard, please go ahead and unmute yourself.
Richard, one thing I like that you did was you were very specific about your previous experience in this field. And when you're selling something that is as technical as what you're putting forward, I think that's a really important inclusion to explain to your audience why are you uniquely able to build this and make this happen. So I really thought that was a really nice inclusion.
Thank you, Alexandra. We still have some time left for feedback. If you would like to share your feedback with Richard, please go ahead. And as I mentioned before, in the chat box, you can find a link to presenters' information if you would like to know more about the presenters and their companies. And there is also a link to a feedback form. If you didn't get a chance to share your feedback during the session, I would encourage you to do so through that feedback form. But right now we do have a couple of minutes for feedback for Richard. And as a reminder to presenters, we have 3 more presentations today. And if you just make sure you have your presentation slides ready, so when I call your name, you'll be on the go. So I think Yanni mentioned it earlier, but if you didn't get the message, all of these presentations will be recorded and shared with everyone later on. So and other rooms too. So if you didn't get a chance to see other presenters, you will get a chance to see that afterwards. So it's not time yet, but I think we can line up our pitching body track. Robert, would you like to just have your slides ready? And I pronounce your name correctly or not? Yeah, I think Robert, you are on mute. Yeah.
There we go. Are you able to see the screen?
Yes, we are. Yes. So the feedback session just ended. We will start your presentation in just a minute, but we can see your screen. So I'll let you know when you can start.
Thanks so much.
You're welcome. Okay, Robert, please go ahead.
Absolutely. Robert Thoma from BodyTrack. I'll be talking about health monitoring to improve safety and reduce risk today. Heat stress, noise-induced hearing loss, fatigue, and falls are all serious problems in the workplace, accounting for millions of incidents annually and costing organizations hundreds of billions of dollars. In 2017 alone, there were 3.5 million incidents of heat stress costing $22 billion, 10.1 million incidents of hearing loss costing $116 billion, 4.5 million incidents due to fatigue costing $161 billion, and 700,000 incidents involving falls costing $28 billion. Fortunately, technology, specifically wearables, machine learning, and predictive analytics can help safety leaders reduce the physical, social, and economic costs of these incidents and save between $1,500 to $3,000 per person per year utilizing BodyTrack, and that is the difference between the cost of the injuries and the cost of BodyTrack. BodyTrack is a precision physiological monitoring platform designed to improve safety and reduce risk. We use an ergonomically designed earpiece embedded with biometric sensors transmitting data. When that data is processed through our proprietary algorithms in the BodyTrack cloud, we're able to detect the onset of heat stress, fatigue, and noise-induced hearing loss before they occur, and falls as soon as they happen. And we're the only technology on the market that does all of these functions. Alerts are sent to monitors such as the safety leader via text and email, and they also populate the dashboard so action can be taken before an injury or death occurs. Our business model is software as a service. We lease the device combined with a software subscription. We have about 15 employees, the CEO, primarily engineers, a few PhDs, a physiologist, and myself, who heads up sales and is also a certified safety professional. Key markets we're focusing on are industrial organizations, defense, and emergency services, but it's also applicable to healthcare and sports. We've had 15 trials to date, and currently we have trials going across paper mills, steel mills, mining across 3 continents, and we are converting those to commercial contracts. We're a global organization that's based in the UK, and I'm focused on the business development, specifically in the Americas. The product has been in development and testing since 2013, and we're going to have the commercial release in 2021. We've raised over $6.5 million to date through investments and grants, and we're interested in new channel partners to help us scale, organizations to conduct trials, and investors to participate in our current round of $4 million.
Sorry, Robert, I have to stop you there because your time is up, and we'll open up the floor to feedback. Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Robert. So I'm opening up the floor to the audience. If you have feedback you would like to share with Robert, please unmute yourself.
Hey, Robert, this is Philip. Thank you for the presentation. I'm going to echo a comment that I think has been said on a couple of other presentations. You know, as investors, especially early stage when companies are in a proof of concept phase, right? It's all about betting more on the jockey than betting on the horse. right? And so using that analogy, you mentioned a team of 15 people, right? And you've raised $6.5 million today. That's wonderful. The question is, why is this the right team to execute? And what is the relevant background, especially of the key people who are the decision makers, the CEO or C-suite, that are being brought to bear that allows them to have the expertise to offer a differentiated product that the current marketplace cannot compete in, right? So help us connect those dots. And the other one I would make, I think on your second slide, you had bullet points. I think it was your strategy, marketing and strategy. You put some key points there that I think should be highlighted visually. You talk about having done 15 trials, right? Are those already paid pilots or not? Right? Put some numerics around the market traction, because all I saw were like keywords and then 4 pictures. And I think there's some imagery there that can help to kind of reinforce and help to de-risk the investments if you're pitching this to angel investors or VCs.
Thank you, Philip. Would anyone else like to share their feedback with Robert?
Hey, Robert, it's Brent. Just building on what Phil was saying, when you're at a stage different than, there's the ideation stage, then you're looking for product market fit, growth, just the natural evolution of the company. When I hear somebody that's raised, $5 million in a variety of ways, you're clearly beyond the ideation stage, or maybe you still are. And I think that journey should be part of this, should really be the story versus our go-to-market or this. It's like, look, you've raised this money. What has that gotten you? And then if you're looking for another tranche of money, what are you trying to learn with that money, or what are you trying to do? It really is important. And to Phil's point of de-risking the deal is, you obviously learn something that says this is worth investing, getting an investor to put in more money in. What is that traction? What does that really look like? What is this, putting in X money will get us to Y, and what does that look like? It's a different set of questions at your stage of the venture versus at something at the ideation stage. Because my sense is you're somewhere in between product market fit and growth and starting to really scale. But that's not perfectly clear to me.
Thank you, Brent. I see in the chat box, Vince also has some feedback for the presenters, but he doesn't have a microphone, so he has it on the chat. So if you're interested, please go take a look at Vince's feedback. But we have the floor. If you would like to share yours with us, please unmute yourself.
Robert, just a tactical comment. I mean, I think you were intentionally sticking to script in order to fit within the time, which is of course important. And the challenge in sticking to script is it comes off as scripted, right? And we all struggle with it. So I can by no means say that I'm any better, but I think it's just something in general to continue to work on is how do you get so comfortable with the script that you're able to maintain eye contact with your audience, and have it flow versus read. But obviously it's a challenge to stay in the time frame. So nice job.
Thank you, Warren. We still have a couple of minutes left for feedback. So if you have some feedback for Robert, please share it with us. I know everyone is a little tired. It's been a long day. We are almost there. We have 2 more presenters coming. But right now we do have a couple of minutes. If you would like to share your feedback with Robert, please. And as I mentioned before, if you were unable or didn't get a chance to share your feedback, there is a link in the chat box. You can click on that link and share your feedback that way, and we will share it back to the presenters. There is also a link to the presenters in the chat box. And if you missed some of them or you would like to read more about them, the link is right there. I would encourage you to take a look. Okay, we will welcome our next presenters. Is Jeffrey Faneuil and Yanni Liu. Excuse me if I don't pronounce your name correctly, but they are pitching Loyal Joys to us. Please, Jeffrey and Yanni, if you can share your screen. Great, we see your screen, and please just give me a minute and I will let you know when your time starts.
Can you hear us okay?
Yes.
Good. I want to jump in right
Okay.
now.
Okay.
Just to say go.
Okay.
I'm waiting for you to say go.
Okay. Go.
Just give me a minute.
Yeah, just let her say.
Yeah.
Okay, it's yours.
Okay. Hi, I'm Jeff. What is fantasy sports? Fantasy sports is selecting real players, professional players, creating virtual teams online, and betting on the games against each other. Would you play fantasy sports? Have you played fantasy sports? Somebody's got to explain it to you. They had to explain it to me. There's so many rules. You have to follow many statistics. You have to know the sport really, really well to even just play the game. Millions of people are going to go home over the holidays, watch the football game, shout at the TV, just like me and my dad have done for years. But most of those people feel like fantasy sports is not for them. They can't participate. If you've played fantasy sports, why did you stop? It's complicated. It's time consuming to keep up with all the stats, who got hurt this week, switching your players in and out. And chances are you hardly ever win because the experts are out there with their algorithms and their computers, and you don't have a chance. The fantasy sports market is huge. It's $43 billion by 2026. There's a big, big market out there. The current leaders, FanDuels and DraftKings, they're focused on all the experts, all the devoted fans, which is around 50 to 60 million people. However, there's 100 million plus casual sports fans out there that like to hang around and talk about the game that don't play fantasy sports. So there's a huge opportunity for them, especially during a pandemic when everybody's bored, they're trying to look at different ways to connect, something else to do. Jumping into fantasy sports is a great opportunity for them. Loyal Joys,
Yay.
Fantasy sports for the rest of us. Simple, social, and showing off. It's simple because it's basic scoring, very few rules to follow, and easy user interface. You don't have to be a genius to play the game and have some fun. It's social because we're going to offer coaches for people to be introduced to the sport and everybody who's playing it. So there's sort of this welcoming atmosphere. We're going to have fan groups, friend groups, message boards for shouting at each other, taunting each other during the game. This is things that aren't offered by other platforms. Showing off because you actually get a chance to win and win very often. And when you do, we'll tell everybody about it. We'll tell them in the app. We'll feature you in advertisements on TV and on YouTube. Play Loyal Joys and you'll become famous. We are going to launch in 2021 and we've already started building. We've got the URL secured, loyaljoys.com, software is designed, and we have the partners identified for sports data feeds and payment systems. I know how to build it top to bottom technically. I have 30 years of experience. I've been playing sports my whole life. I'm a big New England sports fan. You're cheering on the Patriots and the Celtics with my dad all these years. I'm an ideal person to be able to build this out, both from a concept and a technical perspective. My co-founder, Yanni Liu, wants to participate in the sports culture and community that's offered. She represents a huge population of people who could play fantasy sports. She brings 15 years of experience in marketing and international business ownership, which will be critical when we go global, starting with China.
Jeff, I have to stop you there. Your time is up,
Okay.
but thank you very much for your presentation.
Invest with us. Thank you.
Thank you. If you could stop sharing your screen, I will open up the floor to the audience for feedback.
Up there, stop sharing.
Thank you. If you would like to share your feedback with Jeff and Yanni, please unmute yourself.
You can.
Yeah.
We're in a little closer.
Yeah, hi, this is Mario. I just wanted to say I'm one of those people that can really relate because I'm not really great at sports and I don't get it. So I think it's a great idea. I'm excited for the first version. And I think your energy and delivery in general was really, really great. The one thing I was looking a little bit more of is understanding, you know, the size of the market and understanding kind of what's the opportunity that you guys are pursuing here. Maybe because there's established fantasy sports applications, kind of get an idea of how big they are and where do you guys think you would fall compared to them?
Market share.
Oh, that's great.
Thank you, Mario. Anyone else would like to share their feedback with Jeff and Yanni?
Hi, Jeff. This is Philip. Thank you for the presentation. I too would probably be a consumer of your product. I think the one itch that I didn't get scratched in your presentation is actually seeing some visual of what your product is. You kind of provided some voiceovers of a simplified, you know, DraftKings type experience, but what does that visually look like to the end consumer? Maybe including a few screenshots of maybe even initial concepts of the app you're building, so people can understand what the simplicity in Loyal Joys looks like relative to the competition, or having a side-by-side comparison. Look at all the data on one side you do with DraftKings, maybe too analytical for most people. Here's a simplified kind of GUI interface so people can tangibly relate to the product offering.
Thank you, Philip.
So a couple things, this is Brent. One is your talk track and slides were not in sync until about a minute in. So what I was looking at on the slides and what I was hearing you say weren't in sync, and it's very hard when, again, with a virtual pitch, you're looking for reinforcements in that in line. So I would encourage you to think, you know, as you go through this, to sync those up, which would help. And then the other part of it is, you know, I hear you on the market piece around, you put 25% are devoted. I think you put 45% are, you know, are passive or semi and want to be involved. But I guess the question becomes is what is the business there? Because if they're passive, I've got so many in the journey, what is going on, what proves that, what data do you have to prove before you go out and build this whole thing out that says, yeah, these people will care and this is what they're going to do over and over again. This is just not clear to me. You know, they're not devoted by definition. So what we're trying to say is they're not devoted to the sport, but they are devoted to the social side of it. And maybe that's the part that can be missing.
Yeah, that's it.
Right.
So I think before you jump in and start building, working on that insight, because there's a lot of people going after the sports space. There's a lot of different apps being developed all the time, to making sure that you have a path that takes you through this journey that'll have you to win versus be another one of those companies that, hey, I'm going after this, and then you don't quite make it and you fall off a cliff.
Yeah, correct.
Thank you, Brent.
Thank you.
I think we still have a couple of minutes left for feedback. So if you would like to share your feedback with Jeff and Yanni, please go ahead. And as I mentioned before, in the chat box, there is a link to a feedback form. If you didn't get a chance or have some additional feedback you would like to share, please click that link and go to the fill out that form, and we will share it back to our presenters. There is also a link in the chat box for more information about the presenters and their pitches. But I think we do have a minute or so left for feedback for Jeff and Yanni.
Oh, we did a mute. Hi guys, come on. More feedback, please.
Sign up for our beta.
or pay money, invest money.
I'll just add maybe one other point there, Jeff. On your slide, clear when you're pitching to investors, you're always going to get the question of what are the terms with which you're raising the $1 million? Better to just put it on the slide in advance. Are you doing a price round or a convertible note? What are the terms? Even if you don't have a lead, put some terms around what you're kind of looking for. Obviously, the marketplace will set those terms. It's not the entrepreneur, it's the investors. But it's something that, especially early stage, you're inevitably going to get from investors when you're making a pitch and you're making an ask, right? What are the terms on which that money you're looking to raise, and how far will it get you, and what do you plan to accomplish with it?
Thank you again, Philip. It's time for our next presenters. They are the last for the day, and let's give them a big welcome. Mario De Sosa and Warren Brown, they are pitching partner. Warren and Mario, if you could just share your screen for now and wait for my prompt for you to start. Great, we can see your slide.
Okay.
So just give me a minute and I will let you know when it's time for you to start. Okay, Mario and Warren, please go ahead.
All right, good afternoon. And bankable businesses get better terms. Between the two of us, I'm the ex-banker and the passionate product guy. I've got 20 years building product for startups, banks, and enterprise software companies. And I've actually seen this problem that we're solving with Partner and working with tens of thousands of small and medium entrepreneurs in Latin America and here in the US, most recently for one of the leading community banks. And this is Mario.
Hi, I'm Mario. I'm the computer geek of the team, and I have more than 20 years of experience working in software development, working with web and cloud technologies, and leading engineering teams. Also have a lot of experience doing complex financial integrations and helping enterprises make sense of their day-to-day operational data. Do you know that small businesses borrow about $120 billion each year? However, they typically find out that the loan process just takes too long, and it's manual and very frustrating. They also are typically surprised to find out that they need an asset as collateral, even though they have a successful growing business. And on the other hand, for banks, their loan processing typically is an expensive process, and for small loans, it's just prohibitive. Also, they don't have great tools to understand the risk of the business, and they have to go through those pesky collaterals. And finally, after giving out a loan, they don't have a great way to follow up and understand how the borrowers. Partner has a solution for this. We offer an end-to-end loan origination and servicing solution that connects directly to the business operational systems. It's easy and quick to integrate, and it allows banks to get a real-time visibility into the business cash flow, which allows them to make better, faster decisions and to monitor their portfolio going forward.
So how does Partner compete against traditional bank lending and existing digital SMB lending platforms? So our partnerships that Mario mentioned with the business operating systems, with the vertical SaaS solutions that business owners are using, give us three unique advantages. First is speed. We take the application process for a traditional bank loan down from weeks to hours on speed. Second is lower cost. We take the overall cost to acquire a customer, to originate and service a loan, down from $4,000 to $5,000 to below $500, down by a factor of 10.
I am sorry, Warren and Mario, I have to stop you there because your time is up.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. If you could stop sharing your screen, it is our feedback session. I am going to ask the audience if you would like to share your feedback with Mario and Warren. If you have feedback you would like to share with them, please just unmute yourself.
Well, Warren, it's Brent. I'll kick us off. So first of all, I do think you are uniquely qualified. You guys are uniquely qualified for this. Just for full disclosure, I know Warren's background independent of this. So, from the standpoint of a team, being able to solve this problem, my question become as I look at this and I think about the problem. I think it's real. I don't think people are ever going to challenge the problem. It's just really trying to understand why your solution is going to win. How do we come from vision to a big reality? How much money there? It's a much more complex piece to think through in finding right partners to help get you from vision status to future state. And also just being, thinking about what is that really going to take? Because obviously if you can become one of those big players, it unlocks an incredible amount of value and opportunity at many levels. But I think that this is a go big or go home play. So presenting it that way and being clear about it and what your kind of insight and drive, what's unique for you to be able to beat the Cabbages of the world, or how to think about that. But love it.
Thank you, Brent. Would anyone else like to share their feedback with Mario and Warren?
Mario, Warren, this is Luke Stein from the finance division at Babson. I loved what I saw. I'm sorry that you guys weren't able to tell us more of your story. My understanding, John, kind of from a quick scan of your website, is that the fact that you guys have the potential to integrate with management software or POS, things that give you visibility into the books, is really like, that is a key part of your advantage on the underwriting side relative to traditional financial providers. And so, I realized that you guys had way more than 3 minutes of material to tell us. But I feel like, for the audience who understands this, just saying that right up front is gonna help them jump quickly to understanding what is so valuable about what you guys are doing. We understand that unstructured data is hard to underwrite on. We understand that, new businesses that are relying on, whether it's a personal credit score, some of us get the problem, and you guys have a solution. You have a hook that I think you can tell us enough about in like 5 or 10 seconds to interest us. So I would just sort of counsel you to think about getting that right up front.
Thank you, Luke, for your feedback. We still have a couple of minutes for feedback. If you would like to share yours with Warren and Mario, please unmute yourself. I see there is also some feedback in the chat. And if you didn't get a chance to share your feedback with any of the presenters, there's a link to a feedback form. I would encourage you to go there and complete the form, and we'll share it back to the presenters. In the chat box, there is also a link with more information about the pitches and the presenters. If you miss any of them, you can go there and look at the information. As we mentioned earlier, this whole session is recorded, as is other pitch rooms. So if you would like to rewatch, or if you missed any of these pitches and you would like to watch them, we will have the links ready shortly. Just check back on the Global Entrepreneurial Leadership Week website, and you will find the information there. But we still have a couple of minutes for feedback for Warren and Mario. If you would like to share your feedback with them, please unmute yourself.
I'll risk. David Eddy here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, David.
So I'm the tech in the room. Integrations is one of those red flag words for me. Warren or Mario, I see you nodding. So what's your secret sauce? Why do you claim you can do integrations? A word that, as far as I can tell, has been invented in the last 6 months.
So great. Thank you, David, for your feedback.
Oh, that's right. You can't respond. But
Yes,
anyway,
they cannot,
I
yeah.
challenge. I challenge you to a duel over that word. And I have a Marine aviator behind me that says, do not use the word integration. It's not possible. Interoperable, fine.
Thank you, David, for your feedback. I think our time is up, and I would like to once again thank you, everyone. Thank you, all the presenters, for their wonderful pitches, and thank you, everyone who joined us to watch their presentation. Let's give all the presenters a big round of applause. And as I mentioned, all these sessions are recorded. Feel free to check back on the website and watch the ones that you've missed. And thank you